Technical foul. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Teed Up. I'm David.
I'm Justin.
And as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying safe out there, man. Again, second episode of our second season. Good to be back. Justin, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well, I'm excited for this season. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. It's going to be an interesting one. There's no clear winner at the moment. I don't think there's any super teams right now, so I'm excited. I think it's going to be a fun season.
Absolutely. I'm really ready. We had a good draft, pretty decent free agency. It's really looking good, like a good season. And
Yeah,
let's just
I
dive
agree.
into it. One of the biggest teams of this offseason that was in the spotlight was our hometown Philadelphia 76ers.
Yes, they were.
Because we got a situation here. A man by the name of James Harden. We mentioned him on the show a couple times.
Just a couple, only a couple.
Just a couple times. Not really a serious topic or anything on the Tito podcast. If you guys have been listening for a while, we don't discuss a lot of James Harden, but
nope, never.
He wants out of Houston, and his two teams that he picked were the Nets and the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I already know how you feel about it, Justin. You already know how I feel. You knew it right when we got the news. I want to know your thoughts on James Harden and the Sixers. Should the Sixers trade for James Harden?
Well, the Sixers absolutely should. They should do whatever it takes. I mean, I'm talking Ben Simmons. If you have to throw in an extra draft pick or Matisse Thybulle, I'm all for it. I think the Sixers need to kind of jump on this opportunity because it's an opportunity they had before. They had the opportunity to trade Ben Simmons for Kawhi Leonard. That was the deal the Spurs wanted. They chose not to, and Kawhi ended up going for DeMar DeRozan to Toronto, and that he was the one that ended up ruining their championship team. And I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want James Harden getting traded to the Brooklyn Nets where he is going to pretty much end the Sixers championship hopes this season. If he goes there, it's over. If they're winning a chip, it's over. I don't like it, but I think it will be able to work out long term because they're just three incredibly talented players. And if that happens, it's kind of over for the NBA. And as an NBA fan, I don't want to see that either because I think it keeps him staying away from the Nets, kind of keeps the NBA season open. A lot of surprises could happen. So the Sixers just got to get him. And I've been scrolling through Twitter a lot, and I'm seeing people are saying they should not trade Ben Simmons. They should not even trade for him. And I'm thinking, that's crazy. People are disrespecting James Harden. Now, he's already been one of the most disrespected players. He's already been, one of those guys that you see Twitter accounts, 14-year-olds mocking and saying he's not a winner, he sucks, he's not good. The first thing you look up when you type in James Harden name, it comes up saying, is James Harden good at basketball? That's what Google comes up with. That's like when you're typing in James Harden and it gives you suggestions, the suggestion says, is James Harden good at basketball? People forget this is a man who's a multi-time scoring title winner. He's scored 30 points per game or more the last 3 seasons. He's a fantastic passer, has great vision, and he's been an underrated defender for a couple years now that he actually tries on the defensive end. He can shoot the three. He can shoot the mid-range. His mid-range jumper is one of the best in the league. He just didn't use it a lot last year. He can finish at the rim. I think a James Harden and Joel Embiid combo would be this kind of decade Shaq and Kobe. It'd be almost unstoppable. James Harden would be scoring so many points,
Whoa.
and Embiid would just dominate down low. It would be an insane duo. You almost have to, because I watch team after team run pick and roll between their guard and big man and has success. Well, every team's point guard that runs the pick and roll, James Harden is better than because he's probably the best when it comes to pick and roll like that. You see him doing the behind the back passes to Christian Wood so far in the preseason. Imagine if that's Joel Embiid instead. Joel Embiid's bigger than most teams' big man. The two of them would be excellent in the pick and roll. Imagine it's fourth quarter, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7. You have Joel Embiid and James Harden running the pick and roll. That thing's unstoppable. Nobody's stopping that. That offense is unstoppable. They are winning that game down the stretch. It's almost a given. James Harden is a fantastic player. I'd even say he's a top 3 scorer of all time. That may be a little hot take, but I think he is top 3 scorer of all time worthy. Top 5 for sure. He's top 5 for sure. Top 3 arguably. He is just such a talented player, and people are disrespecting him. I'm so tired of it. James Harden is a good player, and the Sixers have to do whatever they can to get him on this team because Joel Embiid only has a couple years left. You're talking a guy that's 26 years old, who's a unicorn, over 7 feet. He's not a skinny dude. He has weight on him. Those guys don't last very long. Yao Ming, 30. DeMarcus Cousins is 31 now. He's already been washed up. I don't know how much time Joel Embiid has left being a dominant big man, and I'm afraid by the time Ben Simmons becomes a top 5 talent, Joel Embiid will already be past his prime, and they will have missed their opportunity with them together. And if I'm being honest, I love Ben Simmons. I'm a Philly guy. I've loved him since the day we drafted him. But if he doesn't shoot a jump shot, I think he's kind of reached his. I think he's kind of reached his peak. I don't think he's going to get much better. He's already an elite defender, an elite passer, an elite rebounder. He won't drive because he can't shoot free throws. He doesn't attack aggressively because he's afraid going to the free throw line because he can't make them, and he refuses to take the jump shot. If he doesn't add his game, he's never going to take the next step. He's going to be a borderline top 20 player like he is right now for the rest of his career. And personally, I don't see him getting that jump shot, so I think he's going to stay that way. So for a guy that's going to be a borderline top 20 player the rest of his career, I am absolutely trading him for a top 5 player in the league right now.
I completely disagree, and I'll tell you why.
I figured you would.
I can probably 100%, 1,000% disagree, and I'll tell you why.
I figured.
I really don't even want James Harden to be in a Sixers uniform. I just look at James Harden and I see a good player. Don't get me wrong. I see a top 10 talent in the NBA. When healthy, he's if we're playing the when healthy game, I think Klay Thompson's better. But right now, obviously, since he's out, I'm gonna go. Obviously, James Harden is the best shooting guard in the league. We're not going to deny that. Mm-hmm. However, I hate his team. I hate how he plays the team game. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. And I've said it before on this show, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it till it's spelled backwards. I think he's a selfish player. I think he only cares about his individual stats, getting his triple doubles. I think he only cares about that and going to strip clubs during a pandemic and trying to cause an outbreak in the league.
I can't deny that. He does go to strip clubs a lot. I mean, he does have he spent $1 million that one night, so he got his jersey retired at the strip club. He does enjoy his strip clubs.
Yep. So you have all the on the court reasons and you have all the off the court reasons not to trade for him, and especially to trade for him for Ben Simmons. I was looking on Basketball Reference, which is like the number one, place that I get all my stats from and all that. Shout out to them. Ben Simmons is looking to be projected as a 17, 8 and 8 guy, which is a very solid. And add on 2 steals to that. I don't want damn near a block to that. And honestly, this year, I think he's going to improve his jump shot, and I think he's only going to grow from here. And I can't prove that in any way.
Though. I know. He's going to get a jump shot, and he still hasn't. It's year 4.
Right, but this year, with a brand new coach, I don't think he was that big a fan of Brett Brown, as you've seen that in the media, and he's got a whole new coach, and you look at what Doc Rivers has been saying, and he's been saying, yeah, Ben Simmons has been amazing in practice. He looks amazing. So I think he's only going to build. And you have to realize this is only his 3rd playing year. A lot of people are going to say it's his 5th, but he sat out for 2 years. So I'm going to say it's his 3rd. I don't want to trade Ben Simmons for a guy like that for James Harden. Now, I went on a whole tantrum about Ben Simmons, but let me get back to James Harden. I think he's going to absolutely ruin this team. I think he's going to take the ball away from Embiid. I think he's going to take the ball away from Simmons and Tobias. Not saying I'm a big Tobias fan, but, he's still a reliable player. I
wouldn't complain if the ball's out of Tobias's hand more often. I would not complain.
Neither would I. But still, and so I just think he's not going to – I just don't think he's going to be a good fit on this team. And I don't think he's been a good fit on any of the teams that he's been on. Because you look at what he does in the playoff. We had a whole video about this back in the summer. He hasn't gotten to the big dance, and that's his problem. That's what sets him away from.
He did once, but
he did once as a 6th man getting carried by KD and Russell Westbrook.
That wasn't by himself. Yeah, that was before he was. James Harden we know now.
So do I want to trade for Harden? Hell no, and I damn sure don't want to give up Ben Simmons for it, because Ben Simmons, in my opinion, will become a top 10 player in the league. at one point in his career, and that's going to be soon. So no,
Would you?
I
I
don't
have a
want.
question for you. Would you trade Ben Simmons for Steph Curry right now?
Possibly.
Possibly, but then why wouldn't you trade for James Harden? Because James Harden has been a better player than him statistically. He has, and he's never missed the playoffs in his career. James Harden's never missed the playoffs once in his entire career. Steph Curry has been injury prone. James Harden's been healthy every year. There's really no reason why you would trade for Steph Curry, but not James Harden. If you're using the excuse they're both around the same age, so you can't use that excuse. Like they're the same player. I think it's just people love to hate on James Harden, and I just don't get it.
I disagree. I think there's plenty of reasons to hate on James Harden, not as him as a person. I'm sure he's a nice guy and all that, but on the court, I can't stand the guy. I think the only people that want him on the Sixers and think that he's good and think that he's an MVP and all that are people that watch him on YouTube, watch YouTube highlights of him and play 2K.
Dude, he is a talented basketball player. Ready?
Not
He
denying that.
played. Ready? Harden played the Warriors in the Western Conference semifinals. It was Stephen Durant versus James Harden. We're comparing all three of their stats. Harden had more points per game, more assists per game, more rebounds per game, a better field goal percentage, better true shooting percentage, better PER, better offensive rating, better defensive rating. But I guess it was James Harden's fault they choked. It wasn't Clint Capella's or Chris Paul's fault. It was all James Harden. We're just going to blame James Harden. That's the issue. You know, every player that James Harden has played with has significantly got better when playing with him. Russell Westbrook went from averaging 22 points to 27 points per game. Dwight Howard, when he came over back in the day, gained 2 points to his point per game. Eric Gordon's gained 2 points per game since before he joined James Harden to now. He's gotten it better. All these players get better when they play with James Harden, and this narrative he doesn't show up is just so mind-boggling because he averaged against the Warriors. He averaged 34.8 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists, shot 44% from the field. KD only missed one game that series, and Harden didn't show up. That's the narrative. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard is out there playing the Golden State Warriors without Kevin Durant. Klay Thompson missed most of the series. He only put up 28 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 43% from the field, and he's some king now. He's some GOAT because he took down a dismantled Warriors team. I don't think that's fair because James
No, he's
Harden,
not.
you make the same excuse for LeBron James why he struggles and he's not perfect like MJ. He had to go up against the Warriors dynasty. He had to go up against the Spurs dynasty. Well, why doesn't that excuse apply to James Harden? James Harden doesn't have a ring
Because
he's been
LeBron
playing in the Spurs.
has 4 rings.
Yeah, you do realize LeBron's played with great teammates. He teamed up with Dwayne Wade and
So
Chris
is James
Bosh. He
Harden.
teamed up with Anthony Davis. You
So
know
is
who has
James
the
Harden.
most playoff series wins without an All-Star teammate? James Harden. He has 6. That's the most in the NBA. He has 6 playoff series wins without an All-Star teammate. Damian Lillard without an All-Star teammate, he has 3. Kevin Durant has 2. Kawhi Leonard has 2. Anthony Davis has 1. Kyrie has 1. Steph Curry, he has 0, not 1. He hasn't won a single playoff series without an All-Star. James Harden has 1. His issue is his players don't show up. His teammates don't show up around him because he's never played with talented enough players to get him there. In today's NBA, you can't lead a team by yourself. It's not possible. We saw what LeBron James did back before they got Anthony Davis. He was struggling. He was not very good. They were what I believe it was like the 6th through 5th, maybe 5th seed in the West that year. They were not an elite team because they didn't have a second star. When James Harden did have a second star in Clint Capella or good players in Clint Capella and Chris Paul, they were beating the Warriors dynasty. They were up ahead. They went into Game 6 up 3-2, and Chris Paul ends up leaving the game and doesn't the last games, and they lose. And his team. James Harden played well, but his team ended up going, what was it, like 0 for 50 from 3 for a while there. It wasn't his fault. Everyone just failed that game, and he didn't have a second star.
Yeah, but what about in his last 4 playoff appearances? He's been breaking the playoff single game turnover record. He had 13 turnovers in a game, and you're going to say that it wasn't his fault that the Rockets lost?
Yeah, he had 13 turnovers, but that's because Chris Paul wasn't playing. Chris Paul was not there to help him. And this year they lost Daniel.
What, it's Chris Paul's fault that he was turning over the ball?
Chris Paul wasn't out there. He had to do everything by himself then.
Look, so because Chris Paul was on the bench, so when Chris Paul is on the floor, then that means Harden won't turn the ball over at all.
He won't turn the ball over as much. It was the problem was they just kind of swarmed James Harden, stopped him, and were forcing him to give the ball away, forced him to give it to somebody else, or picking it off because he didn't have a second teammate out there. It happens to everybody. You need a second star. Why do you think KD and Kyrie teamed up? You need that second star. Why did the Bucks go out and trade all that for Drew Holiday? You need a second star. You have to. Without the second star, you're not going to win. James Harden has never had that second true star other than Chris Paul. People say Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is not that good of a player. And actually,
You
Russell
just said he
Westbrook,
was averaging 27 a game and he got better when he played with Harden.
he did, but he's not a great player. You've said it yourself. Russell Westbrook, I wouldn't say he's a top 20 player, maybe
He's
top
horrible.
25, maybe 30. But yeah, James Harden was able to make him a good player, make him look better, but he's not an actual good player. Chris Paul is a very good player. I will give you that. But they had it. They were there. They were up 3-2 in that series. They could have done it. If Chris Paul plays that game, we all know in those two games, if Chris Paul was playing in those two games, the Rockets would have won one of them. And it's a shame he got hurt because I'm sure he still has nightmares over it. And so does Chris Paul. Chris Paul said it because that was his chance at winning a ring too. That team would have won a ring if they would have won that series. And you can say it's because of Harden, but it's really not. I think it's more on Chris Paul for not playing those two games.
I mean, I can take you year by year again. I just found my old notes. We had a whole episode about this. I can take you year by year again.
Yeah, but
Choked in the
it's not
finals.
him. It's not his fault because
How
he's
is
in
it
this.
not his fault? How is it
How's
not
he
his
supposed to
fault?
win a ring when he's
2015.
playing the Warriors dynasty by himself? When he's playing the Spurs dynasty by himself? How is he supposed to win those games? LeBron James needs Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. He needs Kyrie, Kevin Love, and he's still losing those series. James Harden's out here with nobody with him, and he's trying to do his best. That's not James Harden's fault.
What about 2019? He shot 11 for 25 from the
He has
field from
never played with a top 10
58% from
player
the free
before.
throw line.
James Harden has never played with a top 10 player before, and if you give him Joel Embiid, he is playing with a top 10 player, and I would
Okay,
love
well,
to see that. I think they would be the favorite. They would be my favorites in the East. I think they would be most people's favorites in the East if they do trade for him.
Well, you want to know a player that would average damn near 35 points a game,
Who?
but didn't have another star?
Who?
The Bean, Kobe Bean Bryant, and he actually has a first team all defense, unlike Harden.
Okay, but I didn't compare. I compared him to him, but
I'm saying that's what separates him from being. He is a superstar, but he's not at that level of KD, LeBron, Giannis.
none of them won on their own either. So why are you? LeBron's never won a chip on his own. Kevin
Every
Durant's
team
never
that
won a chip
LeBron's
on his
been on,
own.
he's been the main guy. Same with KD.
KD only won chips because he had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson with him. LeBron's only won chips because he had a top 5 player on his team last year in Anthony Davis. He had a top 10 player at the time, Dwayne Wade, on his team, and he had a Chris Bosh. He had Kyrie Irving, a top 10 player on his team, and a Kevin Love. I think it would be, if you can trade Ben Simmons and you have a big three of, I don't love Tobias Harris, but Tobias Harris is going to get you 15 points. If you have him, Joel Embiid, and James Harden, that team is a championship level team. You had Danny Green's leadership and 3-point shooting. You had Seth Curry. I really love Shake Milton's ability to come off the bench. He'll be your sixth man. I'll talk about him a little bit later. I think that team would be very good, and I think it's what they're missing. Because late in the game, who on this team do you expect to hit the shot? Who are you going to down the stretch to score? Because historically, you can't go to big men down the stretch. It
Give me
doesn't work.
Seth. Give me Danny Green. Give me Shake.
Danny Green, weren't you the one ripping Danny Green after he missed that big shot at the end of Game 5? I mean,
dude, I saw a funny meme and I sent it to you, and now you think I just hate Danny Green. I have this propaganda where I just hate Danny Green. I sent you one meme.
No, but I'm just saying he missed a clutch shot there. I'm not guaranteed he's going to be the guy, and he's a guy you got to give the ball to. You got to get somebody to pass it to him. He's not a guy going to create his own shot. Ben Simmons certainly isn't creating his own shot. I haven't seen Seth Curry do it at a high level, so I can't guarantee that. I'm certainly not trusting Tobias Harris with that shot. No way. I think
you beat him the post.
Historically, that doesn't work out. Big men aren't good with that. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I think you need a guard, a go-to guy. I think the Sixers this would be like Allen Iverson. Like getting a player like this would be the best thing they've had since Allen
Don't
Iverson.
don't
A
don't do not
pure scorer.
don't even put them in the same. Don't you
Mhm.
dare put Allen
They are
Iverson and
very
James Harden in the same.
they
Don't
are
you
very
dare do
similar
that.
scorers,
Don't you
scorers,
dare.
guards, guys that can hit shots late down the stretch. I want James Harden on this team. I think it's what they need, and I think if they don't trade for him now, and he ends up going to the Nets, their championship window is closed for the next 2 years because it's going to be the Nets coming out there. There's no way that there's no shot they're coming out over the Nets. It's
I
going to be
want
the
to.
same thing. Even if they go out there and trade somehow for like Zach LaVine and build a five of Danny Green, Zach LaVine, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, still not beating the Nets. And that would be like that's kind of like your Jimmy Butler trade. You didn't go get the big fish in Kawhi Leonard. You went and got Jimmy Butler instead, and it bit you because Kawhi ended up hitting that shot and he ended up knocking your. That's probably the best Sixers team I've seen,
Yeah,
and
but
that's that team was a
that.
championship level team. He was the one that stood in your way, and I don't want that happening again. You got to swing at this opportunity to get it because this is your chance to win a championship. You screwed up once, you cannot screw up again.
That shot was like a 1 in a million chance. If we had missed that shot, we would have. I really think we would have won an OT,
Oh,
and I
I'm
think we would have
guaranteed we
been in
would have
the.
won that game. We had all the momentum. We came back to get it to being a tied game when he hit that shot. We would have won that game. No, I guarantee. I just don't want to see that happen again. I need a chip. It's been too long, and James Harden, he increases this team's chances of winning a chip right now for sure. Long term, maybe not, but he certainly makes you a top 3 team in the league if you get James Harden on this team, even if it
Right.
costs you Ben Simmons.
And if James Harden becomes a Sixer, I'm not gonna like tear my posters down and burn all my jerseys. I'm gonna say, okay, prove me wrong. Prove me that
Mhm,
you're able to lead a team to a title. I haven't
mhm.
seen you do that yet. I have not seen James Harden do that yet. That's what I'm afraid of because I don't think he's that type of player.
I just don't think he's been given the opportunity. He was given one opportunity,
I think
and
he's
his
been
team
given
bailed
plenty
on
of
him.
opportunity. I think
He
he's
was
been given
given one
absolutely that
opportunity when he
rocket.
was.
The Rockets have built around him for so long. He had Chris Paul. He had Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook had
Russell
one of
Westbrook
his
is
best
not.
years,
Russell Westbrook is not
but
a
he did have
good.
one of the best years of his
You
career
he
on the
did, but
Rockets.
still, if you watch the Rockets game, Russ was the reason why they weren't winning. He was the issue. He was like
That's fair.
the issue. There was floor spacing was great except for him. He was having to shoot mid range. Like it just didn't fit his game. And even though he didn't fit his game, James Harden still made him a better player. James Harden still made him look decent statistically. So I mean, I'm convinced Joel Embiid, that would be the best player Joel Embiid's ever played with, the best player Tobias Harris has ever played with. And I mean, I don't know if you watched those bubble games, but James Harden was getting double, triple teamed as soon as he got to half court. Imagine if they start doing that. You can't do that on the Sixers roster. What are you going to do? Leave Seth Curry open for 3? Leave Danny Green open for 3? Leave Joel Embiid down in the post open? They're already double teaming Joel Embiid in the post. If they're double teaming Joel Embiid and James Harden, that's 4 guys on 2 guys. You're going to have 3 guys wide open then. Or one guy will be covered, but you're going to have 2 guys wide open then. It would be a defensive nightmare if you're trying to coach against the Sixers team with James Harden on it. It would be a defensive nightmare, and the Sixers have to do this trade.
I disagree. I mean, okay. What would okay? So I guess to finish this discussion off, if Harden was completely set on the Sixers, what would be the package that you would send to Houston, and what would you want in return along with Harden?
Well, as a Sixers fan, my package would be like in our favor, obviously a little bit, but I would offer them Thibault, Milton, Maxey, um, Tobias Harris, and pretty much 5 first-round picks and 5 pick swaps, and hope that's enough. That would be my ideal package if I was a Sixers fan. But now, I don't think that's enough. I really don't. I mean, I think Maxey's look good, Milton's look good. Thibault has potential, so I think that's enough to maybe get them to bite. Tobias Harris is in there for filler, and Tobias Harris does look nice next to a John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood team. He would look nice there. I think he'd be a good fit as a role player there. It's just a contract. I think it could work. I think that would be my ideal offer. Throw some pick swaps in there as well. That would be my ideal offer, but with Ben Simmons, I would put Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle in a deal. People love Matisse Thybulle. I think it's a lot of girls think he's attractive and they love him. I saw absolutely nothing. He just runs around there like his head's cut off. He has no idea what he's doing. He's just vibing out there. Doesn't know what he's doing.
Nah, he's
He has
he's a
no
he's a
offensive game
hustler. He's a
whatsoever. He is, and I
he's
give him
he
credit for
can
that.
hustle.
He gives 110%. But man, he looks terrible on the offensive end. I think I have a better offensive game than him, and I'm not a very good basketball player. But I think I have a better offensive game than him because it is just brutal. It's 4-on-5 when the Sixers are on offense and he's on the court. He can't. It's bad. I would include, but he has potential because he's a hustler and he plays some of the best defense I've ever seen. So I think he has potential. I think and Matisse Thybulle for James Harden and PJ Tucker would be my deal. I think you need a backup for, and I think Mike Scott doesn't cut it for me. I think PJ Tucker would be good in that role.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
That'd
Mike
be my
Scott is
backup
kind of just kind of that like on the team now. I mean, he
there.
was he was like a meme for
A
like
while.
like like a while, like when Jimmy Butler was here. But I don't know. Going back to what you said about Matisse, I don't know why you have to be so hard on him. I mean, you do have to realize it's only going into his second year, and you know, and you know, you've seen flashes that he's a decent offensive player. He kind of reminds me of a more consistent Robert Covington.
Mm-hmm.
He's a you know a pretty solid 3-and-D player.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
It's
So
just he needs to work on that shot for sure.
absolutely, and I think that obviously Ben Simmons needs to work on his shot as well, and that's kind of one of the reason why I don't want to like just trade him right now, just because of how much time we invested and how much of a loss that would be, just because of how much time we put into Ben Simmons, how much patience we put into him.
Mm. No, yeah, you're right. I mean, I understand it. I just think I want a championship now, and Ben Simmons isn't there yet. He's not there yet. And I'm not sure he ever will be. Personally, I don't think he ever will be because I don't think he gets that jump shot. I don't think he shoots it because if he was, he would have shot it by now. It's been too long. He keeps saying he is, but he hasn't done it yet. I just don't think he will, and I think that's going to cost him. And I think that's probably the reason why they lose if they don't trade for James Harden. It'll be the fact that he doesn't shoot the jump shot, and that's why I want James Harden on this team.
Yeah. Great discussion. Definitely. Let us
Mm-hmm.
know what you guys think. I'm really happy to be doing James Harden debates again. Obviously, you know, they're only good in moderation. Can't be doing too much,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. So, you
They're
know,
always
season,
exciting.
yeah, always exciting, always a good time, always a good debate, always a good episode. So the season starts tomorrow. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait.
Very excited.
We're 4 days away from those Christmas games, which are going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna get into some of our awards, because it's going to be a lot of players are in the mix. You know, a lot of players are up for grabs for this season award. So Justin, who do you have for your award predictions?
So for my word predictions, it was tough. There's a lot of good candidates. It's early, not much preseason, not much to go off of. But I'm for MVP. I went with Luca. Now I think Luca's a pretty safe pick here. I think he's going to develop his game. Kristaps is going to be out for the first part of the season there, so I think he's going to get a lot of the volume. He's going to get a lot of volume, a lot of shots, a lot of passes. I think he'll have a pretty successful season. I don't think Giannis wins it again. I don't think Braun plays enough games. I don't think I'm trying to think who else. Kevin Durant off the injury. I don't think he gets it. Comeback player of the year is probably Kevin. Comeback player of the year is actually a good one because he gets Steph, uh, KD, Kyrie. It's a decent conversation, but we don't have that on here. Yeah, MVP. I think it's Luca. I'm really excited to see if he can take his game to the next level. He right now has it as like a very good, great player, but to be elite, I think he needs to take it to the next level, kind of work on his jump shot a little bit more, and I think he does. And that's why I have him as my MVP. Now, Coach of the Year, I have Monty Williams, head coach for the Phoenix Suns. I think the Phoenix Suns are going to have a very good year, and I think that's going to kind of propel them to give Monty Williams the award. I think he's going to coach that team well. He has, I don't even know how much coaching he has to do now that he has Chris Paul on his team. Chris Paul is basically like a player coach. I think that will help them as well because he's kind of a young coach. But that team's talented. They got a lot of good players. They added Jay Crowder to that mix. DeAndre Ayton another year developed. Devin Booker another year. Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges. they got a good team. I'm excited to see what they can do. I have them a little lower than I would have liked probably in my preseason predictions here, but I think they could be a special team. I think they could end up being near the top if everything goes well. Sixth man of the year, maybe a little bias here, but I'm going Shake Milton. I think he is going to
Hmm.
be kind of the spark. This is prior to James Harden. I think he's going to be the spark to the Sixers. He's been lights out in the preseason. Whenever they're down or need a bucket, they've been going to him off the bench, and he's delivered so far. Now it's just preseason. I don't know. I really like his game. I've been high on him for a while. We both have. We both really liked him back when he was playing in Delaware. But I'm excited to see him play. I think they're going to need to score off the bench, and I think he's going to be the first guy they go to. I think the Sixers are going to have a very good season this year. I think that leads them to giving him sixth man of the year. And then rookie of the year, man, this is a tough one. It could go a couple different guys. I got to go LaMelo Ball. I'm really impressed with him.
Mm.
I think he's going to show out in Charlotte. I don't think he's kind of going to be given the keys to that offense, and I think he's just going to drive it, and he's going to be pretty decent. I think he's going to be a good player. James Wiseman, I'm not sure how he will do. If Thompson was there, I'd like his odds more. I'm not sure. The Warriors just have never had a big man. They've never really been a team with a big man who's had success. They've always been guard heavy, and I'm a little worried. I'm skeptical. I'm not saying it won't work, but I'm skeptical of it. And Anthony Edwards, I'm not a big Anthony Edwards guy. I don't like his game a whole lot. I mean, I like his game. It's solid, but I don't think he was worthy of the number one pick. So I got to go with LaMelo Ball. Cheers.
What about defensive player of the year?
Oh, defensive player of the year. I'm going Ben Simmons on that. Ben Simmons, I think, should have won it last year. I think he was robbed of that. So I'm going Ben Simmons
I
again.
agree. But you want him traded?
Yeah, he doesn't have a jump shot, and I don't think he can run the pick and roll successfully. I see every team runs the pick and roll successfully, and it kills the Sixers. It kills most teams. The Sixers can't run it because when it's Seth Curry's run it pretty well with Joel Embiid. It seems like they have a decent chemistry there. But when Ben Simmons runs it, it just doesn't work because teams just sag off of him. They're not afraid of his jump shots. So they don't have to. They just all compact in the paint. Ben Simmons then tries to drive on them or puts up an awkward floater, which isn't his best shot. It just doesn't work out well. That's why I want to get rid of him. But his defensive game is outstanding. I said he's elite at
Phenomenal.
everything other than scoring. He's an elite defender, an elite passer, an elite rebounder. He can do it all. He just can't shoot. And when you have a guy like James Harden available, you got to do it, in my opinion. So that's why I trade him. But defensive player of the year, he definitely will be defensive player of the year.
The solid list. I have a couple different guys on that list. I agree. I think Ben Simmons is going to show up this year on his defense. I think he's going to improve his offense and his defense, but he's already been a outstanding top 10 defender in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Sixth man of the year, I'm going to go with Lou Will. That's always a safe bet. I think he's, going to be phenomenal again, as he always is. He just doesn't, Father Time just doesn't seem to catch up to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Coach of the year, this might be a little biased, but I'm going to go Doc Rivers. I think Doc.
Interesting.
I think he's got a good young team now. I think this team's really going to work well with him, so I'm going to go Doc Rivers. Rookie of the year, I'm going to go with James Wiseman. I think he's got all the tools that are necessary for him to win Rookie of the Year. He's got a lot of veteran presence. He's playing with a lot of good players. That front court of Draymond and James Wiseman, I've never been the biggest Draymond fan, but defensively, that's going to be phenomenal. That's going to be hard to stop in the West. And now my MVP, I'm sure you already know, Mr. Fine Wine himself, 36 years old, the king, a kid from Akron, Ohio, LeBron Raymond James.
I just don't think he plays enough games. I think he's going to sit out. He already mentioned resting. So that's my only concern with that pick.
But I think he's still going to dominate. I mean, he's still going to be LeBron.
He very well could be, but I just don't think one of the knocks on a guy like a Kawhi Leonard, or he's been good but isn't MVP worthy, is he hasn't played games. I don't think LeBron plays enough games this year, just because at his age, coming off the playoffs like that, he shortest offseason ever. I think if I was him, I would not play enough games to win MVP. Like in my mind, I think the Lakers they're a good team. I think they will make the playoffs without him playing every game. They don't need him to play every game. They don't. And with seeding, does it really matter that much? I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not sure how much seeding matters if there's no fans anyway. So it's like I
Mm.
don't think they put a whole lot of emphasis, and I don't think all they end up caring about is making the playoffs. So I don't. I mean, I could be wrong. He could play enough games, and if he does, he certainly is in consideration for it. I'll give you that. He's talented enough, and he does it every year. But I just don't think this year he plays enough games to get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends. But I think the reason that LeBron will rest is because he already led. He will already have made the Lakers get into a position where they don't need him anymore for the rest of the season. So I think
Good bit.
I think he'll play a decent amount of games, but I think it'll be enough for him to win the MVP. Because
No,
I seriously just think he's just getting better and better.
no, it's a good take. He's a good player, and I can't like discredit him. He's a very good player, and he has success in the league. So it's definitely not a bad take. My concern is just does he play enough games, and I don't think so. But we'll see.
So let us know what you guys think. What are your what? Let us know what your season awards are. Send us your hot takes. Send us your opinions on Instagram. We'll put our link in the description. Let's get into our seeding predictions. So for the East and West, Justin, who do you have winning the East? Who do you have for 1 through 8? East and West.
So the East was certainly a lot easier than the West. The West is kind of a toss up, and I think I'll be very wrong with that. But the East, I'm feeling pretty confident with. I have the Bucks winning. I have them as the number one seed. I think that team is good. They added Drew Holiday as a good player. I think they'll continue where they left off. Giannis just got his money. I think he'll be ready to play. I really like them. I'm excited to watch them play this year. So I have them as one now. Two, I have the Nets. They're a good team. I think they're going to be good. There's a lot of question marks around them still. They've been very good in the preseason, so I'm excited to see them play. Steve Nash is the head coach. I'm a little skeptical of that. I'm not sure how he will do. He's definitely a good basketball mind, but I'm not sure how he'll do in-game adjustments. I'm just not sold on him from a coaching perspective. But I think they still get the number 2 seed because Kevin Durant is that talented of a basketball player. Number 3, I have our Sixers. Very high on the Sixers this year. I think they're a very good team. They're missing that final piece to take them over the edge, which is obviously James Harden. But I think they're the 3 seed. They have the shooting around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. It's good. I think Ben's ability to not shoot a jump shot is what costs them and limits them in their potential and keeps them at the 3. Um, 4, I have the Toronto Raptors. I think they
Dope
are
jersey, by the way.
good. Thank you. I like it a lot too. The little dinosaur thing. It's cool.
Classic. Awesome.
Yes. I think they're the 4 seed. I really like what they have there. They did lose Marc Gasol, but they went and Ibaka, but they went and picked up Aaron Baines, who I think is a serviceable backup or for serviceable replacement player. I mean, he killed the Sixers when he was on the Celtics and the Sixers and Celtics played. He killed the Sixers, so I'm very high on him. I think he's a great solid fill-in for them. Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, very good player. I think that's good enough to get them the 4 seed. 5, I have the Miami Heat. I think Tyler Herro and Bam take the next step. I think Jimmy Butler's an older player. I think he sits out a little bit just because they've had, again, just like the Lakers. Nobody talks about it. Everyone says, oh, it's the Lakers who had the shortest offseason ever. The Heat had the same exact offseason. I think their older players, like Andre Iguodala, Jimmy Butler, I think those guys are going to rest a little bit more often just because they had such a short offseason. So I have them at 5. 6 is where it gets interesting. I have the Washington Wizards. I think Russell Westbrook throughout his career has been a very good player. He's been a borderline playoff team. Every team he's on is at least borderline playoff team. I think him alone is good enough to get an 8 seed in the East. And with the addition of Bradley Beal to that team, I think that's very good. Ryu Hachimura, I believe is how you pronounce that. Not sold on that, but he's a very solid player. They picked Denny, their foreign player in the first round. I really like him a lot. Thomas Bryant's good. Bertans is good as well. Um, Overall, good team. I like them a lot. I have them at 6. Um, 7, I have the Boston Celtics. Now they lost. This is probably lower than most people have them, but they lost Kemba Walker for the first 2-3 months of the season. That's going to be a rough loss. I think Kemba's a very good player, and I think that hurts them when it comes to facilitating their offense. They picked up Jeff Teague, a decent player, but certainly no Kemba Walker. That's a big loss. And Celtics fans seem to downplay the loss of Gordon Hayward. That's a big loss in my opinion. Well, he wasn't always healthy. He provided them 18 points per game. I don't see where they make up those 18 points per game, especially with Kemba out. I mean, unless Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both take another step forward, I think they're going to be a team that is kind of towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference this year, just because the East is kind of top heavy up there. Danny Ainge is normally a good GM, but man, did he make a mistake letting Gordon Hayward walk? He was gonna trade him to the Pacers for he wanted Miles Turner and old Victor Oladipo, but the Pacers were only willing to give up Miles Turner. Miles Turner on that team would be much better than nothing they got in return from Charlotte. So I'm not sure what really went on there, but that was very questionable.
Does he really deserve $120 million?
No, I know he doesn't. That was a bad signing, and the Hornets aren't going to be that great of a team. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm just not high on the Celtics this year. If Kemba comes back and they returns to full out, I think they could be a sleeper playoff team. But I don't see them anywhere near the top of the East this year. And then 8, this is my fun team. I have the Atlanta Hawks coming in at 8. I really like them. I think the Orlando Magic are another team that could compete for that 8th seed there. But I like Trae Young's game. I think he takes it to the next level. They added Bogdanovic. I think that's a key add. Clint Capella's healthy now, so they'll get him back. I think the Hawks are going to be a fun team to watch, and they're a team that I'm going to be watching a lot at least. I think it's going to be fun basketball, so I'm excited to watch the Atlanta Hawks play. Those are my 8 in the East. What about you?
So for me, I was very realistic, like as far as, because there's some teams that are amazing in the regular season, but once they get to the playoffs, they just fall apart. So like number 1, I'm going with Milwaukee. I don't think that doesn't mean I think Milwaukee's going to win the chip. I don't think they have a shot. I mean, they obviously have a shot, but I don't think they'll get there. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I think they're a great regular season team. Number 2, I'm going to go Toronto. You know, they're always up there. They're always a solid team, and they have a really good shot to make that 2nd seed.
Nick Nurse is a great coach.
Nick Nurse is a fantastic coach. He's always a Coach of the Year candidate. Has been for a couple of years now. Number 3, I'm going to go with Miami. I still love that core of Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo. I think they're still fantastic. Even adding Avery Bradley, adding Mo Harkless. Like they just added a couple, like a really good key guys that I think are really going to help them. Number 4, I got Brooklyn. Obviously, Kyrie always having his injury problems. KD as well. Obviously, like, don't get me wrong here. I'm a huge KD fan. I love KD, but I'm just not sure if he'll be like 100% Kevin Durant coming off that injury, because the injury that he had is a serious injury, and he relies a lot on his athleticism. And a lot of it is on his shooting. He's one of the greatest shooters of all time, but a lot of it is running to the lane, and I've seen him in the gym. We've seen footage, but how much does that really tell about Kevin Durant? So I don't know. I hope he has an amazing season. I hope he's back to the Kevin Durant we know and love, but I'm just not sure. So that's why I have him so low. Number 5, I'm going to go with my Philadelphia 76ers. I think they're just going to be right at that 5 spot. They're going to struggle in the regular season, and then we're going to complain about and then I'm probably going to be like, okay, let's trade Ben, let's trade Embiid, because I overreact because I'm a typical Sixers fan.
Average 6, sports fan.
Absolutely. I've been saying the same thing about Wentz. I think Wentz should be gone. Little sidebar there.
Good point. Yeah.
I think Jalen Hurts is phenomenal, by the way. I hope he's like the next big thing. He looks amazing. Number 6, I'm gonna go with I am gonna go with Boston. I know they did lose Kemba Walker, but I think Jason Tatum's gonna have an amazing year, just like he had last year. I think he's gonna be phenomenal again this year. The only and I it keeps me up at night the fact that we traded up and did not get Jason Tatum on the
Mm-hmm.
Sixers. I still think about that every night.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, I'm going to go with Washington. I think, obviously they still have a nice core with Bradley Beal, adding Russell Westbrook. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I think honestly, I don't know about you, Justin, but I think Russell Westbrook's like kind of done in a sense. If
I
that,
feel like just him and Bradley Beal are so talented. Like, but Bradley Beal, in my opinion, is a top 15 player. I think Russell Westbrook's probably top 30, top 25, and they have depth on that team. They just I love Denny. I think he's gonna be a fantastic player. I
Mhm.
love him a lot. I think he's gonna be a six-man type player. I mean, what was it? He had 15 points, 7 for 7 from the field the other day. He looks really good in the preseason. I like him. Rui Hachimura looks really good.
Very good.
Thomas Bryant looks like a good defensive center. They have a good team there and they have depth. I love I'm blanking on their name. The coach, he was the OKC coach last year. I like him as a coach. He did a
Scott
fantastic
Brooks.
Scott Brooks. Yeah, he did a fantastic job with the Thunder last year. So I think he can do the same here with the Thunder with the Wizards. That's why I had him in the playoffs.
Yeah, let's not forget about Isaac Bonga now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And then number 8, I got the Magic, but I agree with you. I think Atlanta could easily take that 8th seed spot. Who knows what Trae Young is capable of? We don't know. We haven't even seen
Yeah.
full Trae Young yet. So
I think he could be a superstar, and I think he will be a superstar in this league. I think this year he takes the first step, and then next year is the year where he really becomes a superstar, in my opinion.
yeah, hmm I absolutely agree. I think he's going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait.
Hmm.
So that's my Eastern Conference predictions. I think a lot of teams are going to get the high seeds, but then probably losing like the second round or the Eastern Conference Finals, such as Milwaukee or Toronto.
That's a fair point.
So moving on to the West, who you got?
Man, this was tough. There are a
This
lot
is
of good
hard.
teams, and there's a lot of different scenarios happening. You got to figure out how many games does LeBron and AD play? How many games is Kawhi and Paul? Well, Paul George is playing, but he's not that good anyway. How many games is Kawhi Leonard going to be playing? Um, just a lot of question marks here. But number one, I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks. I think Luka is going to take the
Wow.
next step. I think he's going to be very good. I love the addition of Josh Richardson. I was a big fan of him in Philadelphia. I loved his game. I just didn't think he fit what we needed next to Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I think he fits Luka really well because he plays such good defense there. I think that's a great fit. Um, it's going to be a little tough without Kristaps to start the year, but if he comes back, I think they're going to be a very good team. I think you remember Luka missed a good chunk of time last season, so that hurt them. I believe they were the 6th seed last year, but I think they look to capitalize on that this year. Um, Number 2, I have the Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to be a good team this year. They added underrated who just signed a contract today, Luke Kennard. I love his game. I think he is what people think Tyler Herro really is. Good facilitator, good shooter, good player. I like him a lot. They have Lou Williams, Pat Bev, Serge Ibaka was a key addition. I like him. I think that Clippers team is going to be solid. Um, and I have them over my number 3 team, the Lakers. I have the Lakers coming in 3. I just don't think they play enough games. I think LeBron James and AD are going to be sitting out a little bit there, and I don't think they necessarily even care to get a high seed because there's not going to be fans. I don't really think that bothers them not getting a high seed. I think they're just going to be resting up for the playoffs, that they're ready for the playoffs, and I think they're going to end up being okay with the 3 seed. I think that's what they say. We want to be on the top half so we have an easier first opponent. But after that, I don't think they care um, what seed they have because there's really no home court advantage if there's no fans. Who knows? They may even go back to a bubble for the playoffs. You don't even know what's going to happen by then. But yeah. So then 4, I have the Nuggets. I'm very high on the Nuggets. I really like them a lot. I think Jamal Murray is going to take the next step. You have guys like Gary Harris and Will Barton who are good shooters. You get Michael Porter Jr., a full season of him. I love Michael Porter Jr. I think he's going to be a good player. who knows what you're getting with Bol? That's a big question mark. He could be either really good or really bad. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sold on him.
Jamal Murray's gonna go off if there's a bubble and his girlfriend goes into it.
He will be on
I had to
fire
get. I'm
there.
sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you had to. How'd you say something about
I had
Harper?
to do
Yeah.
it. I'm sorry. Cancel me. Do whatever. I'm sorry.
No, I don't blame you. And then they have Jokic. Jokic is a good player. Millsap's solid. I like the Nuggets this year. 5, I have the Portland Trailblazers. I think adding Rocco was huge for them. Bringing back Zach Collins is good. Nurkic is a beast. A full season of him will be great. Robert Covington will be guarding the other team's #1 player, which is huge. Not Rocco, CJ and Dame, great backcourt. Melo off the bench. Gary Trent Jr. is a shooter off the bench. Good team. I think they could use another backup point guard. Maybe CJ kind of becomes that guy. I don't know, but I think they need a backup point guard still. 6, I have the Suns. I think this is low for them. I think they could be a lot better. I really like their team. It's kind of conservative on it. I'm not putting all my chips in on them, but I think they'll be good. I think they're gonna be a solid team. 7, I have the Jazz. I think the Jazz are a good team. They just gave Rudy Gobert that extension. You get Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich. I think they're a solid team. I think they're going to be a decent team. They're certainly not going to be near the top of the West, I don't think, but they will be a good team and will sneak into the playoffs at the end. Because there are a lot of good teams here. I mean, I'm leaving some teams out that I'm starting to question. But 8, I got to go with the Pelicans. If Zion's healthy, I think that's a good team. And if they're not having a minutes restriction on him, I'm excited to see him play. They added Steven Adams in there as a big man. I like him. Brandon Ingram could take the next step. You got Lonzo in there too. I'm a big fan of Lonzo. I like that team. I think they could be a solid team this year. I think they do get the 8th seed. It's going to be close. There's a lot of good teams. I also think they're an under radar team that could end up trading for possibly James Harden, and you see a James Harden and Zion duo in New Orleans. I think that could be a possibility. That's a different discussion for another day. But yeah, I'm excited to see them play. I left the Warriors off this list just because they're such a question mark. I don't know if Steph can stay healthy. No Klay Thompson. Who knows what James Wiseman really is? And I left the Rockets off the list just because I don't know what James Harden's situation is. I think if James Harden plays, they will certainly be a playoff team. You added Christian Wood, who's been absolutely phenomenal with the Pistons and in the preseason so far. DeMarcus Cousins is a question mark, but if he stays healthy, great player, good contributor for a role player type guy. And I'm excited to see John Wall play again. So if James Harden stays, I will certainly be watching a lot of the Rockets, and I think they will be a good team. But I had to leave them off my list just because I don't know what's happening with James Harden. Who knows? He may not even be playing. He may hold out. We're not sure yet. But yeah, that's my 8. I think there'll be a lot of things wrong with this one. I feel more confident in my Eastern Conference than my Western
Absolutely.
Conference one.
Absolutely. We did one, I think, before the bubble, and it was, I think mine was horribly wrong. So for me personally, my Western Conference standings predictions, number 1, obviously, you already know. I'm going with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Figured.
Obviously.
Shocker.
Obviously, they're going to do amazing. So what if LeBron sits? So what if AD sits? They're still going to dominate the West, let alone the entire NBA, and they're still going to be fantastic, and they're going to repeat this year. Number 2, I'm going to go with Denver. They're always a really good regular season team. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic duo is phenomenal. I think they're going to be really good this year in the regular season. How far will they get in the playoffs? I have no idea. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Clippers. You got Kawhi, PG. That duo is obviously going to do fantastic in the regular season. Number 4, I'm going to go with Golden State. I think Steph's going to come back. I think he's going to be really good. I think adding James Wiseman with him is going to be great. I think Wiggins is a solid player. Draymond obviously is a decent defender still. So I'm going to go with Golden State. I think they're going to be back on top. I think everyone's going to miss Golden State, and they're going to come back this year. Number 5, I have the Dallas Mavericks, for obvious reasons, Luka Porzingis. I think they're going to go pretty far in the playoffs, though. I think they could probably go to a Game 7 in the second round or make it to the conference finals. That's my prediction. Number 6, I'm going to go Phoenix. Just like you, I I did want to put him higher, but I'm just not completely sold on him yet. They look really good on paper.
Hmm.
That Chris Paul, Devin Booker backcourt is probably the best backcourt in the NBA on paper.
I'd have to go CJ and Dame, but I don't. It's certainly a good backcourt.
Yeah, that's not like a wild.
It'd be
Yeah,
Steph and Clay for sure if Clay was healthy. But yeah.
when healthy. Yep, absolutely. Number 7, I'm going to go with Utah. Rudy Gobert just got paid. I think he's going to be really good this year. He could probably take my Defensive Player of the Year candidate spot, as he always does. He's always up there. And then number 8, I'm going to go with Portland. And I think, yeah, obviously Dame and CJ, amazing backcourt. Arguably, we were just talking, arguably the best.
Mhm.
So yeah, this was
Hard.
this was hard. This was hard to
It
choose.
was
I
not
had to leave
easy.
some teams out. Look, I wanted to put the Pelicans. I wanted to put the Grizzlies, but it was just hard.
Hmm.
I didn't know.
Grizzlies were
Like I
another
think
one.
I don't know. I just think the Blazers are going to come out on top. I think Dame having that veteran presence and being, having a lot more experience than, guys like Zion and Ja Morant is going to push him over the edge. So I'm going to have to go with the Blazers at the 8th seed. And that is
Yeah,
my
that's fair.
hmm,
That's fair. That's a fair point. It's gonna be tough. I mean, I I think the East, you get at least know the teams. The seeding is probably going to be off, but I think we have around, there's probably 8 to 9 teams there. I think in the West, you have 11 teams that probably could compete. I think there's that could make 11 teams that could make the playoffs at least. I think there's probably like 5 of them, 4 of them that are guaranteed, but I think after that it's a toss up, and there's some good teams. I don't know. It'll be a fun season though.
absolutely. Yeah, and I really think that they should do a. I think they should stick with the play in, whether
Yeah,
they're in
the
the bubble
the
or
play
not.
in.
Just
It'll be
because if you
interesting to see.
absolutely, and if you look at the West and see how many teams are like close to making the playoffs or are up for grabs for that 8th seed, for that 7th seed, I think they should absolutely do a play in.
I agree with that. Actually, I think that's a
Mhm,
good take there.
mhm. So yeah, we're gonna pretty much just wrap this episode up. Looking good, looking like a really good season. Definitely a good discussion about that, this whole James Harden situation. Can't wait to finally just get back to watching basketball tomorrow. I'm super excited that it's back. I can't wait.
For
Yeah,
predictions,
yeah.
predictions for tomorrow night. We got
Thanks for tomorrow
Warriors,
night.
Nets, Lakers, Clippers. Warriors play Nets and Lakers play Clippers.
I'm gonna go with the Nets, 97-106.
Nets 97. Hmm,
Then I'm gonna go Lakers, 121, Clippers 111. And you can
Interesting.
take that to the bank.
I'll
Not
go.
me, because I can't gamble yet, but
I'll go. I'll go Nets as well. I think they're gonna come out strong. I think KD and Kyrie want to send a message. I think probably like, I don't think there's much defense in that game at all. It's probably gonna be like 128 to 115 Nets win, and then a Clippers Lakers. I think it's gonna be a little more low scoring. I think it's gonna be like a 105 to 100 Lakers win, is my guess.
that's fair. Yeah, both of those games are gonna be like offensive shows. Like they're gonna be amazing.
Unless the players are off and they're just missing shots because they haven't played, they're not used to it. They may get a little nervous or something. I don't know, but
Hmm.
yeah, they're definitely an offensive talented show there.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait to watch this tonight. Looking forward to some games tomorrow. We're gonna
Hmm.
wrap this episode up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more episodes. We're gonna be dropping more content as the season goes on. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys doing well. Hope you guys are staying safe, and thank you for watching. See you later.